Okay, so today we are doing note set number 8, so go ahead and flip to your table of contents page. We are going to be on page 10 today, and the notes are going to be titled, "What is a relation?" So page 10, titled, "What is a relation?" Once you have that written down, then I need you to flip to page 10 in your notebook. It's going to be on the left side on the back of a page. And you are given this sheet of paper. It's printed on front and back. So you need to fold this in half like a booklet and then tape it down. So go ahead and do that. Now that you have that taped down, it should look like this. So fold it like a booklet and then tape down so that way we can open it and see the practice problems on the inside. So we are going to go over a couple things about relations before we get to those practice problems. So we're going to go over these 4 things. We're going to start with the definition of a relation. So write kind of small. If you write large, kind of write small on this one. So a relation is a set of pairs of input and output values. So a relation is a set of pairs of input and output values. I'm going to write what I think is an easier way to kind of understand that. It is a set of ordered pairs. Okay, set of ordered pairs. And there's going to be more than one ordered pair. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the characteristics of a relation. And specifically, I want to talk about the ways to represent them. So let's write that down. There are multiple ways to represent a relation. So there are multiple ways to represent a relation. There are 4 that we're going to talk about specifically. And we're going to write those down. Okay, the first one are the ordered pairs that I was talking about. So we have ordered pairs. Just a set or a list of ordered pairs is one way. Another way is an input-output table. Which I think you guys know this one as the XY table. This is the XY table, which is still basically ordered pairs. You're just looking at it in a table. And then we have points on a graph. Which is still actually the ordered pairs that's just on the graph. And then the last one is something called a mapping diagram. You may or may not have seen the mapping diagram. If you have, great. If you haven't, that's okay. I'll show you what it is. But it's just a way to look at ordered pairs. That's all it is. So those are the 4 ways that you can represent one. And we're going to talk about it. They are on the inside of this foldable, so we'll get there. Okay? So now I want to talk about some examples. Let me zoom out for a second. Some examples. So we're going to just take a couple of these. I'll start with the ordered pairs and we'll write out an example that looks like that. So when you are talking about a set of something in math, set notation are these little squiggly brackets. Now, they do take practice. Do your best to draw them. As long as it has a little bit of a squiggle in it, you will be fine, okay? Just do the best you can when you draw those. So this is saying that we have a set of something, and so now let's just come up with some ordered pairs. We can have 4, 7 is one, 0, 2, -3, 1 maybe, and we'll get one more. Okay, so there's our set. And so remember, when you are talking about a set in math, that is these little squiggly brackets. Do your best to draw them. So in this specific set that we have 4 ordered pairs. So this would be 4 dots on a graph if we were to graph them all. The other one I want to do is that input-output table, the XY table. And we'll just make an XY table of those 4 ordered pairs. So here's what that looks like. You guys have seen XY tables before. So this is how it's set up. They always look like that. X is always on the left, Y is on the right. And we're going to take that ordered pair, and X comes first, Y is second, and so you just break it up. So this one is going to be 4, 7. So that shows you that that's the first ordered pair. And then the next one, we have 0, 2, -3, 1, and then 1, -2. And there you go. So relations deal a lot with ordered pairs. It's different ways that you can write out ordered pairs. So let's get a couple of non-examples, which they're pretty easy to come up with. You just come up with something that's not an ordered pair. So we'll start with this one, 2x plus 7. Now, if you had to label this, if I were to ask you, is this an expression, equation, or an equality, you would hopefully be able to answer me. This is an expression because it does not have an equal sign. Let's do this one. 3x minus 4 is less than 1. This one is an inequality. So those are just 2 quick examples. You have to remember relations deal with ordered pairs. So if you are given something that's not a list of ordered pairs or a set of ordered pairs, then you're not talking about a relation. Okay? Now, one big important thing that we have to talk about are these 2 things down here. The set of all of the x values. So when I look at this xy table, because that's the easiest way to look at it, all of these x values right here are called something specific, okay? The set of all of the x values is called the domain. They are called the domain. So if I ask you what's the domain of this relation, what you should do is you should just list off the x values. Okay? Now, the set of all of the y values on the right side, they also have a name. They are called the range. This idea about domain and range is super important. You're going to see this a lot in every single math class that you take from here on out. Okay? So domain and range. X is domain, Y is range. If you need help remembering that, this is the way that I remember it. Think about the alphabet. X comes before Y, and if we look at domain and range, domain comes before range because it starts with a D. Okay, so just think about which one comes first if you list them out in the alphabet. Okay, that's how I remember it if I ever forget. Okay, so now let's go ahead and flip to the inside of this foldable. This just shows how a relation can be presented. We just talked about the 4 ways, and here are the 4 ways. We have ordered pairs in this column, the input-output table or XY table. This is the mapping diagram, which I'm going to talk to you about that, and then here's the graph. Okay, so this is the 4 ways that you can see a relation, and we are going to do 2 of these, and then I'm going to let you do the other one on your own. Okay, so we'll start with the first one, and let's just start in the ordered pairs box. So we have a set of ordered pairs. Notice that the set has these little squiggly brackets at the end. And there are 5 ordered pairs in this one. If we count them, this is just a set of 5 ordered pairs. And it is asking for the domain and range. So those are X values and Y values. So these are also sets. So the domain is a set of the X values. So here's what that looks like. We're talking about a set of numbers, so I need my squiggly brackets. And then now all I legitimately have to do is list out the X values of all of these ordered pairs. Okay? So I'm going to go through there. The first X value is -3. Then I got -2, 1, 3, and -3. And I just close my set, so I put the other squiggly bracket. And I've got 5 numbers in there, and I've got 5 ordered pairs, so I'm good to go. That's just a quick check to make sure that you didn't miss one. And now we need to do the same thing for the range. So we're looking at the set of Y values. So you just have to list out all of the Y values of those ordered pairs. So again, we're dealing with a set, so make sure you have those squiggly brackets. And then now we only have to focus on the Y values. So it's 1, 0, 2, -4, and 5. I'm going to close my set. I check to make sure that I've got 5 numbers in there, which I do, so good to go. I didn't miss one. And that's it. That's all you have to do for domain and range. You just list out the ordered pairs. Okay? Now, XY table, that should be pretty simple, but I'm going to go over it anyways. All we have to do is take these ordered pairs and list them out in the XY table. So that first one, -3, 1, when I list it out, it's going to look like this. The only thing that you have to make sure when you're listing out ordered pairs in an XY table is make sure that they are side by side. That denotes that that was an ordered pair. So the next one, -2, 0, 1, 2, 3, -4, -3, 5. And there's your XY table. Pretty simple. You dealt with that in middle school, so this shouldn't be anything new. Okay, now let's talk about the mapping diagram. This is the one that may or may not be new to you, so I'll go over this one. So, on a mapping diagram, you usually have 2 oval shapes. It's important for you to know that these are how they are labeled. The X is always the one on the left and Y is always the one on the right. What we now need to do is, and you can look at this XY table that you just did, it makes it super simple. We need to take these X values that we have and put them in this X oval. but you do not have to write if the number repeated. So you see how -3 is written twice in the x side? We just need to write it once right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So -3, -2, 1, and 3. I'm not going to write -3 again because I already have it up there. And then I'm going to do the same for the y values. Remember, don't write it if it repeats, which we don't have any repeating numbers on the y side. So we have 1, 0, 2, -4, and 5. Okay, so now we have all of the numbers in the bubbles. I call them bubbles. Now, here's the actual mapping part. A mapping will still show you the ordered pairs, so it's important that we actually map them correctly. So here's how it works. This x, or this input value, maps to this output value. So when we put this number into our equation, we get this one out. So -3 maps to 1. So we just draw an arrow showing that this right here is an ordered pair. Okay, so then -2 maps to 0, 1 maps to 2, 3 maps to -4. And then here's it's not weird, it's just you're going to have to pay attention. -3 also maps to that 5 down there. So we're going to draw another arrow from this -3 down here to the +5. So now when someone looks at this, they can say, oh, -3 has 2 ordered pairs. It's going to be -3, 1, and then -3, 5. And that's a mapping diagram. So the mapping is the most important part. You have to make sure that you draw the arrows from the correct numbers. Okay? And the last one is a graph. I hope I don't have to go into detail about how to graph ordered pairs. I will talk about it in a basic form, but you should have learned how to graph in middle school. So the first one that we're going to graph, remember these are just points, so they're going to look like dots. So we should have 5 dots on our graph. This one is -3, 1. Negative is left, positive is right, and you always do the x value first. So that's left or right first, and then up and down. So I'm going to go left to -3, and then up to +1, and there's my first dot. And you just keep going. So the second one is -2, so I'm going to go over here to -2, and I got 0, so I'm actually not going to move from the x-axis. Then I got 1, 2. So for that one, I went right +1, up 2. Then I have 3, -4, so +3, 1, 2, 3, -4. It's going to be down there. And then I've got -3, +5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. I tried to draw my points pretty big so that you could easily see them. But those are the 5 ordered pairs. You do not connect the dots. You just leave them like they are. Okay? Most of this should not have been new. The domain and range was probably new, and maybe the mapping diagram, but as far as everything else, should have been stuff that you've at least seen before. Okay, the other one that I'm going to do with you before I let you practice one on your own is that third one. Because check out that third one. It doesn't have anything in this ordered pairs box, or the XY table, or the mapping diagram. What you are given, though, in this third one is the ordered pairs graphed on the coordinate plane. What we can do now is work backwards. We have the points on the graph, so now just come up with their ordered pairs and then go over here, write that out, and then fill out the rest. So we're going to do that now. We're going to go ahead and look at, let's see, there are 5 dots, so we should come up with 5 ordered pairs. And I'm just going to jot them down right here below the graph, and then I'll move them over there to that left box. I always go from left to right when I look at a graph, so I'm going to take care of this dot first. Okay? I'm going to make these dots a little bit bigger. Okay? So that way I can see them easy. All right, so now I'm going to go and get the ordered pairs of these dots. This one is the first one. So that's negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5. And then I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 5, negative 4 for the first one. So that one's done. So then I'm going to keep going to the right. So I'm going to get that dot next. So this one is negative 1, 2. So negative 2. And then I got to count 1, 2, 3. Positive 3. And then we're moving still left to right. So I'm going to take care of this dot next. This one actually don't move anywhere left to right. So that's going to be 0. And then I move down negative 3. And then we're going to take care of this dot, which that's 1, 2. And then down to negative 5. And then this little dot is our last one. So this one is 4, 2. And there we go. So this one is designed to make you think and work backwards. You just took the graph and came up with the ordered pairs, and now we can fill out everything appropriately. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to take those ordered pairs that I've got and write them over here. Remember, when you are listing out a set of ordered pairs, you need to have these squiggly brackets. So just like that. Remember, it's going to take some time drawing them. Just do your best. Make sure it has a little bit of squiggle in there and you'll be fine. So let's list them out. Kind of write small because we do have 5 ordered pairs that we have to list. Then I have negative 2, 3. So the first one was negative 5, negative 4, then negative 2, 3, and then 0, negative 3. 2, negative 5, and 4, 2. And then I close my set. So those are my 5 ordered pairs. We just found those from the graph, so they're written below that graph that we have. Now let's list out the domain and range. Remember, domain is x values, range is y values. I'm going to ask you what domain and range is probably 1,000 times before the end of the school year. So you just need to get prepared and figure out what they are so that way you can answer me. Okay, so the domain is just the set of all the x values. So we're going to list out those x values. So negative 5, negative 2, 0, 2, and 4. Then I count, I do have 5 numbers, so looks like I didn't miss one. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the range. So negative 4, 3, negative 3, negative 5, and 2. Okay? So there's my domain and range. All I had to do was list out the x values and y values from the ordered pairs. Now, make your XY table. You just take these ordered pairs and write them out in the XY table. So negative 5, negative 4, negative 2, 3, 0, negative 3, 2, negative 5, 4, 2. XY table, just write them out. And then we have the mapping diagram. So this one is the one that may be new to you. If it is, that's okay. So we got two little ovals or bubbles. Remember that the left one is always our x and the right one is always our y values. And so now we're going to take these numbers that we have in our XY table and write them out. Remember, if there is a number that repeats, you do not have to worry about writing it, which this one doesn't have any numbers that repeat. So we should have good little arrows going from left to right. So let's just write these out. So -5, -2, 0, 2, and 4. That's my x value side. And then my y value is -4, 3, -3, -5, and 2. So the diagram is set up. You haven't actually done the mapping. The mapping part is the arrows. So now we just draw the arrows to show which number matches where. So -5 maps to -4. So this one is a nice pretty diagram. The arrows just go straight across and map to the numbers on the other side. Okay? So those are the 4 ways that we can represent them. What I want you to do now is do this second one on your own. So in a second, I'm going to have you pause the video, work this one out, the second one right here. Should be very simple. And then after you have that one done, I want you to push play, and then I will show you what the answer key is for that one, because I want your notes to be correct. So go ahead and pause this video, and I will show you the answer key in a few minutes. Okay, and here's the second one for you, like promised. We have domain and range listed out, the XY table, and the ordered pairs on the graph. I'm not going to go over those because those are pretty straightforward. The only thing that I want to point out is, and you can see I messed up, I whited it out. Remember that when you're doing an XY mapping diagram, you do not have to write the number if it repeats itself. So I accidentally wrote 4 again right there, and then I whited it out. But since the number 4 is used twice, that just means that we're going to have 2 arrows feeding into 4. So you should be able to look at this and say, oh, okay, -1, 4 is an ordered pair, and so is 2, 4. That's how you read a mapping diagram. So I hope you got those right. If not, then just quick fix and change them in your notes, because we want our notes to be correct. So good job today, guys, and I will see you next time.